We'll start with our 2-minute introduction, and Brian is our first. Got 2 minutes.
First of all, I want to thank everyone for being here tonight. I want to thank Murray Alliance for putting this on, the Daily Herald, Columbia Power and Water, everybody that went together to put this event on, and especially the great crowd and great turnout we have here tonight. I am Brian Brewer, and I'm running for District 64, State Representative. I'm 34 years old, been married to my wife, Sarah, for 7 years. She is a registered nurse working at Murray Regional, and due to 12-hour work shift, she's going to be late joining us tonight. We have 2 children together. My daughter, Anna, is 5, in her first year of public education. Tomorrow, our son, Bryant, will be 3 months old. We decided just having a baby during the summer wasn't enough, that we needed to jump into a campaign. We moved here in 1988 when my dad, Coach Larry Brewer, was hired to be the girls' basketball coach at Columbia State. My mom, Linda Brewer, has been a librarian and teacher at Central High School since that time. I graduated from Central High School in '96. I attended Columbia State Community College and Nashville Tech, studying electrical engineering. I'm just a normal Southern Tennessee country boy, growing up around the farm. Growing up around the animals, horses, and the outdoors, I decided to follow my dreams, and for 15 years, I was a professional horse trainer. The last couple of years, I've been involved in a small family business that I'll make the 3rd generation here in Murray County. Like most people from this area, I'm a conservative, pro-life, pro-Second Amendment candidate. I'm proud to be running as an old-fashioned Tennessee Democrat because throughout history, they've represented fiscal responsibility and working-class people. I'm just a normal person with not a lot of political experience that feels it's time for government to stop working for special interest groups and large campaign donors and started working for people again.
Representative Butt.
Let me echo that I'm very thankful that every one of you are here tonight. In 2009, the unemployment rate in Murray County was 17.4. Today, the unemployment rate is 19.8. That is still too high. However, we've been making good progress working together with local government, state government, and private enterprise. In the past 5 months, I've sponsored 2 job fairs, and in the past 2 years, Murray County has added 1,200 jobs. During the last session of the General Assembly, we balanced our budget, began lowering taxes on food, repealed the death tax, passed E-Verify. We have drug testing for welfare benefits, and now we're being recognized as one of the leaders in beginning education reform. We've also begun reducing red tape and regulations on all of our small businesses. I strongly believe in the 10th Amendment. The 10th Amendment says, the powers not delegated to the United States by the Constitution, nor prohibited by it to the states, are reserved for the states respectively and to the people. Just today, I read that the owners of Olive Garden and Red Lobster have decided that they will not hire any more people because of the penalties, and the ones that they have, they're going to put on part-time because the penalties and regulations that are being mandated to us by the federal government. There are many businesses wanting to make decisions, even to come to Murray County, but they're not making those decisions because of the mandates coming down to us from the federal government. As your representative, I want to get government out of our way and let us do business as we raise our families in a state that still recognizes marriage between a man and a woman, a state in which we're not afraid to mention the Bible in public, a state where we know we have a constitutional right to bear arms. Thomas Jefferson said, "A government big enough to supply everything you need is big enough to take away what you have."
Thank you, Representative Butt. And we'll move on to our first question to Mr. Brewer. Should Tennessee expand TennCare to cover uninsured individuals as it was anticipated through the Affordable Care Act? Please explain why you would or would not support this expansion. This is question 2A on your sheet.
I think this is a very good question that come January in Nashville, there's going to be a lot of debate and a lot of looking into when it comes to expanding TennCare under the Affordable Care Act. Now, some of the interesting facts here in Tennessee is we are in the top 10 in the nation with our TennCare program as we currently see it. So in other words, we don't have very far to go to reach the minimum requirements for the Affordable Health Care Act. Right now, the federal government sponsors 67% of our TennCare program. With the Affordable Health Care Act, once it starts going into place, and it is expanded, for the first few years, it goes up to 100% that the federal government funds, and tops out at 90% that the government funds, and we fund 10. Now, that is some of the facts and figures on this issue. And that's the type of things that I want to use when I'm looking at, if I'm in Nashville, of deciding on the future of health care here in Tennessee. What is important to me is that senior citizens are not deciding between food and medicine, that parents are not having to decide between a home payment and being able to take their sick child to the doctor. Those are all issues that I believe it's important that we put away party politics and we actually look at the policy and look at the facts and figures, decide and come together as Tennesseans and move forward to what we've got, where we can get the best coverage for the most people here in our state.
Thank you. Ms. Butt?
I think we've looked at this before, several years ago when Tennessee decided to expand TennCare, and at that time it was something that almost broke the state of Tennessee. So we are going to have to look at the figures and the facts and understand that if that money is going to come to us, are they going to quit giving that money in a few years? Now, something I would like to point out to you about the Health Care Act and what decisions we have to make. I hate to put this up here, but this is the Health Care Act. This is 2,407 pages of the Affordable Health Care Act. Ladies and gentlemen, this is before the rules are even promulgated. Everything in this act is so fluid at this moment. I sat down with the governor just a few days ago, and we talked about, are we going to do these things? And the truth of the matter is the rules haven't even been made yet about doing that or about setting up an exchange or anything else. This is the basic health care law, and every third page says, and the rules will be promulgated in the future. So the federal government is asking us to make choices on things that they haven't even decided yet. And we are not in a position to make those choices until we know what rules are going to be made. Just recently, there was a deadline that said we had to decide what things we were going to put in our health care exchanges. And the governor has a letter, I have the letter with me. He wrote back, there are 3 reasons we can't make this decision. The choices are limited because the federal government has limited our options. Any decision made would only be for 2 years, and then the federal government will begin setting nationwide standards. And there's a general lack of clarity, and states are left asking more questions than they have answers. So this 2,400 pages is just the start without a rule ever having been written. And the states have no idea what's going to be coming to them from the federal government, and we don't need to be making any decisions on that yet. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Butt. Would you like a rebuttal? Okay. On to the next question, number 3A. Ms. Butt, you will get this one first. What do you see as being the #1 issue that will have a direct impact on Tennessee's success in attracting jobs to this area? What ideas do you have that would affect job creation in Maury County?
I love this question because there are lots of things that we can do to attract jobs to Maury County. #1 thing, there are people right now ready to hire people, but because of the uncertainty that's coming down to us, they're just saying, oh, let's wait. We had someone coming right here to Maury County to do business, and they said, we can't come right now till after the election and we see what we're going to have to do. Are we going to have to offer every single employee insurance? Are we going to have to pay a fine for every... Charlie Ingram, many of you know him. He told me about a company that's thinking of coming, and they have 150 employees. But you know what they said? We're not going to do one thing until after November. So right now, we're all having a hard time attracting businesses. What I want for Maury County, and what I hope for Maury County, is that we can have people who want to come to Maury County because we have a good education, because we have reasons for them to want to come here. We are the dimple of the universe. We have the most beautiful place in the world to be. And we want to showcase Murray County. We want people to come here because they want to live here. And I think we have the capability to do that. Murray County, we have a great Murray County Alliance, Murray County Chamber, working together, as I said before, with private enterprise, using private enterprise money to help attract businesses to this county. We have lots of plans in the making for I-65, lots of plans 840 opening up just this next week to open up Tennessee from east to west. Murray County is going to be the place to be for business. And with the things we have done in the state, with lowering taxes on food, do you realize how big it is getting rid of the death tax in the state of Tennessee? People are going to want to come here. I have already heard people are coming here from Florida now because we don't have the death tax. So there are lots of things being done in Murray County and in the state to draw businesses to Murray County. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Butt. Mr. Brewer?
I believe that one of our biggest assets that we have here in Murray County for bringing jobs in this area and for training our workforce is the Northfield Workforce and Development Training Center. This is something that no other county across our state that I know of has, and few of them could actually fund that type of facility that we were able to get here in Murray County. In 2009, when Governor Bredesen saw the vision that that place could be and started putting those wheels into motion, when I went and toured that place, I could not believe until I actually went through it and saw what all the possibilities of that place were. Being able to train the workforce and bring companies to that Northfield Workforce Training and Development Center, letting them see the resources we have up there, where the job training can be done, and these assets are going to be major in bringing more business, more jobs here to Murray County. Bringing regulations down to a safe level and keeping taxes low are also major parts of the problem here in our state of recruiting businesses. Now, I do support the constitutional amendment that will make Tennessee a no-income tax state, and I fully support that, and I look forward to getting that to the voters in 2 years. I think that'll finally put that to rest, and that'll always keep Tennessee in the top as far as bringing businesses in. As my opponent said, education is a big key to bringing jobs in. Without a strong education here in Murray County and a strong workforce, they're not going to come. And so I think that is that goes along with the Northfield Workforce Development Center and our education and job training program for the 21st century.
Thank you, Mr. Brewer. Ms. Butt, you have a 1-minute rebuttal.
I would just like to echo that the Northfield building has been an asset to our community. Certainly we have programs going on there that are training young people right now. We have made it easier for students in high school to take their college classes with dual enrollment. We have Volkswagen over there saying we have come here and the people are not ready to be hired. So we need these young people trained in the things that are available. We need healthcare technology, we need health information specialists, and we need to concentrate on those fields and have our young people ready when they get out of high school and into college to work on those things. Also, we have employers saying that our students don't have soft skills. Soft skills meaning the correct English, meaning how to speak to people, meaning they have to take 2 years of remedial, sometimes 1 year of remedial when they go to college. So these are all things we do need to focus on, and we need to thank the Department of Transportation for getting that driveway in there for us and the people of the state of Tennessee. Thank you.
Mr. Brewer, would you like a rebuttal? All right. Moving on to the next question. Mr. Brewer, you will have this one first. As you consider higher education as a part of our culture, what do you perceive to be its value to our society? Is it credentials awarded, job preparation, quality of life, global and cultural understanding, higher level thinking skills, civic engagement, or other components? This is 6B.
I believe the higher education has a large part to do on our society, from job preparation to the learning of doctors, lawyers, and everybody else that it takes to go make this country work. Here in Tennessee, we have some major problems in our higher education system right now that we need to address. Right now across our state and Tennessee in higher education, we have the fewest number of students enrolled in colleges right now that there have been in years. One of the major parts of this has been tuition being spiked 20% over the last few years. That's causing students to go in higher student loan debt, and many not able to afford higher education. I think to work on some of these issues, we've got to start getting our junior colleges more involved in our higher education systems. We've got to use Columbia State and with the partnership of MTSU and other colleges offering 2+2 programs where someone can stay here in Murray County and still get their bachelor's degree in college. The other part of it is we got to fund our higher education here in Tennessee. I believe we have to invest in our children's future if we want to survive in this economy. Building up a healthy middle class is the way you build and sustain a healthy economy. And by getting the people the higher educated or either at the Workforce Development Center and preparing them for the 21st century jobs, then that's the part that we've got to do as legislators, is make sure that those things are in place for our young generation and invest in their future.
Thank you, Mr. Brewer. Ms. Butt?
I'm happy to say that this year, more than $330 million, Governor Haslam has appropriated for capital investments in our colleges in this state. Those are things that need to be done. Those buildings need to be fixed. We need to be kept up so that our children will have a safe and good place to go to college. Now, my goal for Columbia one of these days, which would be for us to have a 4-year college here in Columbia. That would help us in so many ways, and that's not beyond the realm of possibility. Tennessee has 9 public universities, 13 community colleges, 27 technology centers. By 2020, only 8 years away, 56% of Tennessee jobs will require a college education. So a college education is extremely important. And I would like to see a lot of programs geared toward making sure our students graduate when they go to college. Maybe there can be some kind of scholarships that say, if you graduate, you don't have to pay this back. Funds that can give them some motivation to want to go there 4 years and graduate. Because employers in 2020, 56% of them are going to be looking for college graduates. I think this is an interesting question because it says, is it credentials awarded, job preparation, quality of life, global cultural understanding, higher level thinking skills, civic engagement, or other components? And I think all of these components are important in a college education. I think you go there to learn lots of skills other than just what's in the books. We all know that. You go how to learn to balance your own checkbook and grow up. I think college is very important and a great step from the children in your home who then go to college and become the adults that we need for them to be in society. So I believe in supporting our colleges any way possible, but somehow tying the work that they do in college and their achievement to them not having to pay back so much when they get out of college. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Butt. Rebuttal, 1 minute.
Talking about the Columbia State 4-year, when we moved here in 1988, we were told within 10 to 15 years Columbia State would be a 4-year school and that Columbia State would be the center of Murray County, or center of Columbia. Well, we both seen that neither one of those things have came true. I don't know if Columbia State can become 4-year, but I do believe that would be a great thing, asset here for Columbia, if we could get Columbia State into a 4-year college.
Thank you, Mr. Brewer. Ms. Butt? Good? All right. Next question. And this, we'll start with Ms. Butt. It's 5A. Murray County is blessed with wonderful natural resources, but some of them are limited. What are your thoughts on our region's water supply needs? More specifically, what is your perspective on the balance between environmental protection of the Duck River and residential and commercial water consumption?
Well, I've thought about this a lot because since we've come here, the water problem has reminded me of maybe a couple that broke up. Because, you know, maybe you dated this person, he was just the greatest person, and then you broke up and nobody was ever quite the same. We all know that Murray County wanted the dam built here in Murray County, and I was one of the people who wanted that. And as a matter of fact, right after I was elected, I went to TWRA, I went to VA, I went to everybody begging, could we please get the dam? I was that idealistic to think we might be able to get the dam built here in Columbia. The last two dams that were built were at Timms Ford and Normandy. So that probably is not going to happen. So we do have to look at our future. Our water right now comes from Normandy, and even our city water comes from Normandy. They pay Columbia Power and Water for the water that we do get. The Duck River Agency is in charge of the water that comes to Murray County, and so they're the ones who decide the levels of Normandy, the levels of water that we get. There are several projects out there, and everybody has some skin in the game, but right now nobody's made a lot of decisions about how our water will be handled in case of a drought, and TVA will have a part in that. Now, as far as coal, you know, I'm not a person that says, I want to shut down the coal industry, because I don't. Coal is affordable, and coal is good energy, but we can also find ways to have cleaner coal, and that's what we need to work toward, and honestly, that is what's happening right now. Our energy now is clean coal and natural gas, and just recently, some new fracking rules have been put in place in Tennessee that we're going to have an abundant resource of natural gas. We need coal, we need natural gas, we need every kind of energy because we're going to need it in the next few years. And we're not trying to put anybody out of business. This administration, when this president took office, he said, I'm not going to tell you you can never use coal again. I'm just going to make it so expensive that you're not going to be able to. Now, I'm not willing to put people out of business like that, and let's work together to make good, clean coal.
Thank you, Ms. Butt. Mr. Brewer?
Here in 2012, it's a shame that places such as Mount Pleasant and Mount Joy are boiling water to try to have safe drinking water to drink. The water system and water improvement here in Murray County has been a problem since 2007 when we had a severe drought. That prompted the Tennessee Duck River Development Agency to start working with TVA and start looking at ways to improve the water supply in case of a severe drought for more than 1 year here in Murray County. There's been some different ideas thrown around, and they are looking at the facts and figures, and they're trying to come up with the best way to move forward with the project to protect us here in Murray County from dry water again. I too hated that the dam here in Columbia was not built. I think it would have been tremendous in the tourism and the water supply and everything else it would have done for Murray County. The land that has been used was bought for the dam that has been turned over to TWRA now. When it was given to the state of Tennessee, it was given to be a multi-use recreation facility. But now, unless you hunt, you pretty much can't use the facilities out there. We have been working on for many years now of trying to put a plan together to start opening up and bringing in more ecotourism and more park-like settings to some of that land that was taken from so many of us. My grandfather owned a historic place on the Duck River there called Davis Ford, and I have never been able to see Davis Ford with my own eyes because it is illegal for me to do anything to get to it except for canoe down the Duck River. That is something I think that here in Murray County that we need to keep, that the Duck River is a wonderful water supply. It is a very neat ecosystem, one of the top 3 in the world for most diverse species. I think it's time we start sharing our Duck River with the world.
I would like to rebut.
1 minute.
Thank you. I would just like to say that I have been in meetings with TWAR about that. I've talked with people here about it, and I hope that that's something that the county commission will present to the state. If that's something that they would like to do, I would certainly be behind them with that 100%. I would also like to mention that as far as the Mount Pleasant water supply, one of the first things I did when I was elected was go to the assistant governor and say, the deputy governor, and say we have to help Mount Pleasant with their water supply. In the past 2 years, we've been able to get over $2 million in grants for Mount Pleasant to work on their water system. I'm not one to tell about a lot of the things that I've done. I hope that people will see them, and I don't have to talk about it most of the time. But go out and look at Arrow Lake. Arrow Lake's being cleaned up right now, And we have done some great things for Mount Pleasant and their water system, and we'll continue to do that in the next few years. Thank you.
Mr. Brewer and Ms. Budd, would you like a rebuttal first?
Yeah.
Okay, 1 moment, 1 minute.
As I said, this project with the Yonelli land has been worked on for many years. There's been many people contacted and tried to bring on board, to bring into meetings, and to move this project forward, and no one has really put forth the effort to try to do that. What this could mean to Murray County is unlimited possibilities, the same as Northfield Workforce and Development Training Center. Out here on Chickasaw Trace, out here on Highway 7, we have people that drive in from all over the state, surrounding counties, to come in to ride mountain bike trails, to fly their remote control airplanes and other activities there at Chickasaw. These people are spending money here in our county, in our restaurants, and in our stores. And by developing this center out here, and also a nature center along with it, then we can really expand the tourism and recreation dollars here in Murray County.
Thank you, Mr. Brewer. As a follow-up question to this question, I will give you each 1 minute to please specifically what is your perspective on the balance between the environmental protection of the Duck River and water consumption. And we'll start with Ms. Butt.
Of course, every one of us knows that we have to be concerned with the environment. As a matter of fact, after I was elected, went and asked, could we not take some of the critters there that we are concerned about and put them in another place and make sure they have a good place and go ahead and build our dam. But the fact is there are lots of people who want to see them stay in their natural environment. And the fact of the matter is that those things are regulated by the federal government most of the time, and so our state doesn't have a lot to say about those things a lot of time. But certainly we all are concerned with our environment and the future that our children have to learn about the environment. So I think it's very important.
Mr. Brewer?
Yes, preserving our environment for future generations is a very big key. With the balance that we have here in this land in the Duck River, that is something that we need to keep, and as I said, we need to share around the country. A few years ago, there was a plan put in place called the Tennessee 2020 plan, and it was basically trying to design how we could start using nature areas and nature environmental sensitive areas here in our state to start developing state parks and historical and natural centers. By doing this, they have been studying how we can work together to protect the environment, but also be able to open it up and start using and letting people experience the artifacts. On this TVA land, there was over 6,000, I believe that's right, 6,000 artifacts stored in Knoxville that no one here in Murray County has access to. By bringing Nature Center here, we can teach people about our environment and also those artifacts.
Thank you, Mr. Brewer. You would like a rebuttal? 1 minute.
I just want to say that our own Kathy Fouston has just been put on the Historical Commission, so I'm going to trust her to work on that for us because I sincerely believe she'll do that. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Moving on to the next question, and this is our final question. It's 1A. Charles W. Pickering once said, "A healthy democracy requires a decent society. It requires that we are honorable, generous, tolerant, and respectful." After a primary season that left some voters concerned that attack ads between candidates overshadowed concrete plans to better their community, are you willing to denounce shady vote-seeking tactics and run a clean campaign? For extra credit, look to your nearest competition and tell the audience what you admire about them. Brian is first. Mr. Brewer.
Well, I think a lot of us got tired of seeing a lot of the campaign ads back during the primary season. I'm a firm believer in being able to run on your ideas and run on what you want to do and not just trying to run the other candidate down. Now, in that, I also do believe that when you are up for re-election that you have to be held accountable for your actions. I think we have doing that now from national-wide races to right here in the state races. I think it's important that we hold our elected officials accountable to what they said when they were trying to be elected and to what they went and done once in office. Just slinging mud, just going all negative, I think it's bad for people. I think it's bad for politics. I think those types of issues is what keeps a lot of people from wanting to even get involved in politics. What we need is more people involved in politics that want to get involved and be a part of our government, not be trying to do things to run people away and run people out. We need to start making things more accessible where people are not scared to sign their name on the ballot because of what someone's going to say about them. But stand up and let their actions speak louder than words and run for an office on what they want to do and what they want to move forward in the that you're seeking. Now, I will go for extra credit here. One thing I will give my opponent credit for, and if I am elected, I would like to continue myself, is she has kept the voters involved and aware of what's going on through the Daily Herald and through the radio station. I think that's one thing I have heard from a lot of voters that they have appreciated. So I think that is one great thing that she has done, and that's something that I would like to continue if I am elected.
Thank you, Mr. Brewer. Ms. Butt.
I appreciate that, Brian, and I will go for my extra credit right now because I've seen you with your children. I think you're just an outstanding father, and I appreciate that very much. We do need outstanding fathers, outstanding mothers, and outstanding people of character in our state legislature, in every aspect of our government. You know, a healthy democracy requires a decent society. That means all of us being good to everyone else. That doesn't mean just me trying to be decent or just you trying to be decent, but all of us being decent to each other, because you know what? That's not the kind of politician I want to be. That's the kind of person I want to be. And if you are not the same person as a politician, then you really don't need to be there. Most of the mudslinging, generally when someone starts that, it backfires on them so quickly. So when you start getting the mudslinging and those things that some things happened in people's lives 15 or 20 years ago, I get discouraged sometimes because I think, you think people cannot change over years? I mean, lots of people change over the years. We have to go on what a person is today, what they have done today. Have they followed through and done the things that you have asked them to do? What I would ask every one of you is to be educated about politics. Know about the person that you are supporting. Have they voted before? What have they stood for before? What kind of things have they done in their life that you can be proud of? That's what every one of you has a responsibility as a voter to do. It's not all up to Brian and I. It's up to you to find out what kind of candidate you have, and then if you can support that candidate wholeheartedly, then you go and do that. That's what a democracy is about. That's what our republic is about. And you know, if we don't know how to run our republic, if we don't be the good citizens we need to be to elect the kind of politicians that we need, then this republic will fail. And it's not going to be my fault, and it's not going to be the other candidate's fault. It's going to be all of our fault. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Butt. Now it's time for our closing remarks. And Ms. Butt, you will actually go first.
And how long do we have for our closing remarks?
2 minutes.
2 minutes. Okay. I want to go back to something that we talked about a little earlier. I want to talk just a moment about the federal mandate that is going to come to Tennessee one way or another with the health care law. And I want to share with you a description that Barbara Beller, candidate for Illinois State Senate, used. Here is her sentence about the health care coming to us if we are not careful in one sentence. We're going to be gifted with a health care plan we are forced to purchase and fined if we don't, which purportedly covers at least 10 million more people without adding a single new doctor, but provides for 16,000 new IRS agents, written by a committee whose chairman says he does not understand it, passed by a Congress who did not read it, but exempted themselves from it, and signed by a president who smokes, with funding administered by a treasury chief who did not pay his taxes, for which we'll all be taxed 4 years before most of the benefits takes effect, by a government that's already bankrupted Social Security and Medicare, all to be overseen by an attorney general who is obese and funded by a country that's broke. Now, what could go wrong with it? And every single state is going to have to decide, is Tennessee going to take that healthcare law, or are we going to set up an exchange? And I would ask every one of you to be informed about that, because if you don't think that's going to impact your life here in Murray County, it's going to affect our seniors, it's going to affect our young people, it's going to affect your business, it's going to affect every one of our lives. When you want to go see your doctor, that decision may be made by a panel in Washington, D.C. as to whether you can go see your local doctor whom you love or not. So these are decisions that are going to have to be made. Maybe after November, a lot of this will be a moot point, and if it is, I'll be very grateful. But if it's not, I will ask every one of you to stay informed. Thank you so much.
Mr. Brewer?
Well, I find it interesting that she took her closing to talk about health care, and I'm going to do the same. This is that big of an issue coming here in Tennessee come January. No matter the future of health care here in Tennessee, I think there's two important issues we do need to address and have control over. One is Tennessee being second in the nation for prescription drug abuse. I think that's something that just is completely unacceptable, and I was glad to see the Tennessee Prescription Safety Act of 2012 passed, but I think we still need to do more. It is hurting our children, it's hurting young adults, and hurting also middle-aged people. That is something that we have to crack down on, from doctors writing too many prescriptions all the way down the line until the end user. The second thing, no matter what the form of health care we have in Tennessee, is we've still got to crack down on fraud. There is fraud going on in our health care system every day, costing each and every one of you taxpayers more money. That's something we have to keep addressing, no matter if it is the Affordable Health Care Act or insurance the way it is presently done today. Now, one thing that I think people really need to talk about and look up here in the future of Tennessee and health care is the Health Care Compact. That is something that has been voted on here in Tennessee and almost passed, which would actually do away with all federal regulations here in the state of Tennessee when it comes to health care. It would do away with all your Medicare benefits as described by the federal government. It would do away with all Medicaid benefits that come under the federal government. It would do away with all veteran benefits guaranteed by the federal government. With as much talk that goes on about the Affordable Health Care Act, I think some people really need to start looking at the Health Care Compact and what states, such as Texas, one of the worst in the nations, that are members of that. And then compare more about the future of health care here in Tennessee.